Now we turn to circles. Now, one quick note, circles are not polygons because they're not formed by straight lines. It is a shape, it's just not a polygon for the reason I just said. Now, we know how to find the distance around a square, a rectangle, a triangle, parallelogram, etc. But how does one find the distance around a circle? It's circumference. It doesn't have straight lines, and it's just one long curved line that doesn't really have a clear beginning or end. The distance around the outside of a polygon is called the perimeter. You've been learning the perimeter, an area of things, since you're in elementary school. But the distance around the outside of a circle, which you've probably already seen before, is called the circumference. So it's very similar in concept to the perimeter. It's just that we use this word when we're talking about a circle. So this very, very, very smart man named Archimedes discovered how to determine the relationship between the circumference of a circle and its diameter. Because to us, we might think, oh, we've known this for a long time, like all our lives. Fair. But this was something they didn't know for thousands of years. But Archimedes really thought there has to be a relationship that's true, no matter how big the circle is. There's got to be a relationship between the circle's diameter and its circumference. And just in case you need a reminder, the diameter of a circle is the distance of a line drawn from one end of the circle to another that passes through the circle's center. So if this is my circle and this is the center, I could draw the circumference here, I could draw it here, I could draw it here, I could draw it here, lots of different ways. But the point is all of them go through the center. Whereas if I were just to draw a line from here to here, well, that missed the center. So this is not the circumference, but all of these are. No, sorry, this is not a diameter, but all of these are. So Archimedes did a lot of work and discovered that if you divide the circumference of any circle by its diameter, the result will be approximately 3.141592564 every time. And since he was Greek, he thought, it'd be great to give this number a name. And let's just use a letter. It's one you're familiar with. It's pi. So since Archimedes discovered that the circumference divided by the diameter equals pi, that means we can find the circumference of a circle by multiplying pi times the diameter. So just to show you how we get there, his whole work was saying, if I take the circumference of any circle and I divide it by pi, I'm talking too fast. Archimedes, his study said, if I take the circumference and divide it by that same circle's diameter, the result every time is pi, the 3.14159, and so on. So if you want a formula, which is right here, that solves for the circumference, that means you got to get rid of the d. Right now it's c divided by d, so if we multiply both sides by d, these d's cancel out because d divided by d is 1, and you end up with this formula for the circumference. So the circumference of a circle can be found by multiplying pi times the diameter of the circle. So we mentioned the meaning of the diameter. There's a picture again right here of the diameter. And just to make sure it's clear, it does not have to be a vertical line like this. They could draw the diameter diagonal or flat, horizontal, or anything like that. As long as it hits both ends of the circle and passes through the center, it is a diameter. Now there's another part of the circle that you'll need to know. That's called the radius. The radius is the distance of a straight line that goes from the center to any part of the circle. So, again, they'll often draw it where it's horizontal like this, but the radius could go diagonally, vertically, straight down, any direction, as long as it starts at any point on the circle and stops at the center. Or you can say either way, start and stop's not the point, but one of its endpoints is on the circle. One of its endpoints is on the center. So the diameter goes all the way across the circle and through the center. The radius goes to the center and stops. So we're going to talk about the relationship between these two. the diameter is exactly twice as big as the radius, meaning the diameter is equal to 2 times the radius. So that means we can have two ways to write the formula for the circumference of a circle. Because since the diameter is the same thing as twice the radius, we could replace the d, the diameter, with 2 times the radius. I know they changed the order of the letters here a little bit. That may seem weird, but you can, when you're multiplying, it doesn't matter what order you put things in. And they just like to put numbers on the front, and then Greek letters, and then variables. In the past, you may have used 3.14 or the fraction 22 over 7 to estimate the value of pi. But now, you'll use the full value of pi by using the pi button in your calculator. Let me see if I can quickly pull that. Okay, here's what your calculator looks like. You probably don't have that plugged in, but here's what the buttons look like on this. And if you look, it's not, you won't have to push the second button. It's not the little thing above the power. It's the actual button right above there. So you'll need to use pi from now on when you do this in your calculator. Don't abbreviate with 3.14 or 22 over 7. Use the actual pi button. Okay, so let's use this information to solve these problems. Again, we have two formulas, one with the diameter, one with the radius. So the first thing you want to do when you're asked to find the circumference of a circle is see, did they give me the diameter or the radius? Well, this one they gave me the diameter. So that means I need to use the formula C equals pi d. So I need to multiply pi times 13 because that is the diameter. So I'll do pi times 13 and I get 40.84. We'll go to 2 decimal places. So 40.84 and it's inches. So the circumference is 40.84 inches. 2 is very similar because on 2 they also gave us the diameter. So we use the same formula we did here, pi times d. So do pi times 7.3. So pi times 7.3. And we get 22.93 meters. Okay, then they switch gears on us. In number 3, instead of giving us the radius, instead of giving us the diameter, they give us the radius. So we'll need to switch to the other formula, which is 2 pi r. So our r is 5. So we'll need to plug in 2 times pi times 5. You can also just plug in 10 pi or 10 times pi. Now this one we will need to round because we go to 2 decimal places, 4, 1. But we look just past that, and since that's a 5, we need to round that 1 up to a 2. So it's 31.42. Number 4 also gave us the radius. So we use the 2 pi r formula. So we do 2 times pi times 10.9. So 2 times pi times 10.9. And this one we also round up because we look at 68.48. Then we look just past that. The 6 is bigger than 5. So we have to round up that 8 to a 9 and make it 68.49. So the circumference is 68.49 centimeters. We're going to do just 2 more just to show you that sometimes they'll give you a picture, sometimes they'll just give you the information of the radius or the diameter. So for the radius here, it's 23.1. So we need to use the formula 2 pi r. So 2 times pi times 23.1. And when you multiply those together, you should get 145.14. And the unit is kilometer. Number 6, they give us the diameter, so we want to use the formula pi times d. Pi times 2.7, and pi times 2.7 gives you 8.48 miles. One question some of you might be saying is, well, like if they give me this, couldn't I just draw it all the way across and say that, well, that means the diameter is 10? You can. There's nothing wrong with doing that. If you'd prefer to change everything to a diameter, or like here, you could say, I want to just look at the radius, cut that in half and say 6.5. There's nothing wrong with doing that and just using the same formula all the time. However, I would recommend you just stick with the two formulas as they are, because adding this extra step isn't wrong, but it gives you another chance where you might just make a mistake in your calculator or a mistake in your mental math, which isn't needed since you've got the two forms of the formulas.